It's a human rights issue, okay? Last time I checked, it's still a domain of the law.
You're right. You guessed right. I am going to give you the juiciest reviews of Castle and Castle in this video. So I'll be starting with a quick summary of season 1 and 2, mainly season 2 to the last episode, season 6. Then I'll give a few findings I made in the video, my general thoughts on the video. Then I'm going to give you my expectations for the coming episodes. Stay on. So, Castle and Castle is a Netflix movie by Ebony Films, makers of Wedding Party, Elevator Baby. You just name some of them. They've done just the big films, and they bring to us Castle and Castle, the first law movie, or the first law series on Netflix and in Africa. And yeah, it's big. It's really, really big, and I'm proud of them. So this is a movie that was no flop. Everything was just on point. Maybe one or two, but yes, I loved the movie. So a general summary of the movie for those of you who haven't watched it. It is on Netflix and they've released 2 seasons already. And yes, the first season has 14 episodes. The second has 6 episodes, just 6 episodes. And we are all yearning and dying to be able to get the remaining episodes. So this is a law movie, yes, basically. And the first season, okay, it's starring Richard Mofe Damijo, the real RMD, as Tega Castle, Dakore Ewuson Akande as Remy Castle. We have Blossom Chukwujeku, we have Bimbo Manuel, we have Judy Chukwuka, we have Daniel Etim Effiong as Mike, Denola Gray, Kevin Ushi. So this is a star-studded movie. It's a story about a law firm, one of the most popular law firms, with all these characters, and basically everyone in there is very ambitious and wants to get to the top, or let me say almost everybody. So Richard Mofe Duncan, who is Tega Castle, has his name on the company. He's married to Remy Castle, and together they named this big law firm Castle and Castle. So Castle and Castle previously was the property of Remy Castle's father, Duke, but on condition that Tega, her husband, eventually helps Remy run it, he decides to give them the terms that Duke will not interfere and his name will be on the firm. So therefore the name of the firm became Castle and Castle. So Tega Castle met Remy Castle in their university days. Well, Tega was Remy's law professor, got her pregnant in law school in his second year, and one thing led to the other. Duke, the father of Rems, began to hate Tega Castle so much that you just think they are fighting over some lady or some sort. So yes, they give birth to this handsome man whom they at all costs want to be a lawyer. We find out along the way that really he didn't really want to be a lawyer, but he had a passion elsewhere, Denola Gray. Now that is a general summary of season 1. It comes with a lot of fight for power, romance, deceit, and so many things you can think of I call this a blockbuster, trust me. So let's move on to the season 2, where I'm going to mainly talk about. So the season 2 begins with we getting to know all of a sudden that there is a party, and we Previously, before season 1 ended, there was this big story where Tega Castle was to face his own wife in a courtroom on the opposing side. And we realized in the opening of season 2 that Remy Castle had won the case, and Tega Castle had been forced out of his company. And we realized that he has moved out of the company, but then his name is still on the company's building, kind of. Then they apparently move into a new building, and but then Tega Castle is no longer at Castle and Castle. He had been forced out. So Tega Castle goes back to his university days, his university, to go back being a professor or lecturer at his law firm, at his law school, or at the law school, kind of. Then we get to realize that Remy Castle is trying to rekindle the flames between Remy and herself and Mike. Mike happens to be a senior advocate and a top lawyer who left Castle and Castle because he wanted partner. He wanted to be a partner, which they failed to offer, and he decided to start his own firm, Amenechi. Again, in the season 2, we find out that things are really getting very bad for Castle and Castle, especially the Castle family. Duke has finally been able to get Captain to kill Otumba, and puts the family in a very, very difficult period. Captain is arrested and is beginning to talk, and first reveals to Remy that her father put him up to. Ben doesn't make it easier as he joins this music thing and goes to making it worse by telling a musician and his manager that he killed someone. Now they're using this information to blackmail Tega to be able to get money from him to be able to produce their music. This is not going on smoothly for the Castles. I just have a feeling that whether we like it or not, somebody definitely will go down for all these crimes. So episode 6 of season 2 ends with Tega receiving a threat call from these unknown people, which I know are these desperate manager and his musician. Morenike, one of the characters I so much dislike. I tried to like her when she owned up to who she really was and her mistake, but I'm beginning to I decide I just didn't like her all the more when she didn't just stop. What is wrong with us? Sometimes you just ask yourself why some people can't find their own means to make it, rather than finding all the shortcuts to be able to destroy other people's lives to be able to make it. Morenike is just a typical example, and I just don't like her. No personal feelings, but in the movie, I don't like a character. So we see Morenike going to the minister to be able to give him all the inside information in Amenechi and Castle law firm. Again, Remy Castle is in a difficult situation where she's torn between telling the inspector who really killed Otumba or having to protect her family name. The story is just getting interesting. This movie was just on point. What are my expectations for the episode 7, probably 8 and more? I'm just hoping that Tega doesn't really pay these boys for this absurd money that they are requesting, because I know he knows that threat is a crime and he should just make it clear to them. Also, I'm just hoping that Ben comes clean on what he really did. I won't be surprised if Ben is arrested, really, for doing all this. But remember, if Ben is arrested, all his family, Duke, Tega, Remy, will go down for covering up for their son. But I just don't get why all this is happening, because I thought that if they paid off a family that agreed not to press charges, it is not the same as covering up a crime. Because if the family decided not to press charges, then you're free. You're a free man. So I don't, well, unless somebody argues otherwise and educates me better on this, but I was just thinking that this wasn't something they covered up to keep people quiet, but they paid to be able to compensate the family so that they don't press charges. So I'm just hoping Remy thinks twice about telling the inspector really what happened. I'm just not glad, I'm just not happy how all of a sudden a very noble family is being dragged in the mud, and they're gradually having to do what they described Otumba as doing, rubbing himself in the mud. In the coming episodes, I'm just hoping that Tiger would be able to take himself or detach himself from Morenike, and he gets to realize that that girl is no match for him. And the earlier he puts a stop to her nonsense once and for all, the better for all of us. Because Morenike is taking everything too far and she's beginning to piss me off. Why do I have this feeling that in the coming episodes, Tega is definitely going back to Castle? Because I have this feeling that all this is happening because the family was apart. If they had been together, these things would have been minimized, really. So I think that I'm just hoping that Tega comes back with his wife, Remy Castle. And together, they fight this strong. The name still remains Mame Abnapokia. Till we meet in my next video, kindly hit the subscription button and let's grow this channel. I'm out. Screw.